Democrats are just brimming with confidence tonight, John. Are you kidding? We've been in group therapy since the first debate.
Welcome to Newsbeast. It is debate day, and join us tonight for our Newsbeast debate party. We're starting at 8 and then doing it Mystery Science Theater style through the debate, and then after we got David Frum coming, as well as many other illustrious guests. But first, our illustrious guest this morning, Robert Zimmerman, back in the house. Good to see you, sir.
Good to see you, man.
Very good to see you, always. And his Newsbeast debut, John Bohr. How are you?
Good.
Now, you were the author of an epic 11,000-word deconstruction of George Romney.
Yes, 11,063 words.
And it was actually riveting reading, too.
It really was.
That's right.
Thank you.
It really was. Did you get angry notes from the Romney family?
No, I haven't really. We contacted the Romney campaign. They just did not respond to comment for it. I guess it's part of family lore that he walked out, and I think they still believe it. So
yeah,
I mean, no reason to believe they don't.
Also, family lore that he marched with Martin Luther King. Those are two prominent. I feel badly because I was going to get a George Romney 2012 button made because I always thought I vastly preferred George Romney's politics to his son's, or at least this incarnation of his son. But you actually paint the picture of the father who is the most influential person in Mitt's life. You know, he writes "Dad" apparently on a piece of paper before every debate, as essentially a guy who climbed the ranks of politics by out promoting himself and alienated his professional colleagues as a result.
Yes, I would say so. I mean, he distanced himself from the Republican Party in the end of the 1950s up until about 1961, and even when he did register as a Republican, he registered as an Oakland County Republican. So he didn't want to associate with the state and national parties. That's
which was then too big business.
Right. Well, he criticized it as being dominated by big business, which Barry Goldwater called a myth and a fraud. And upset a lot of the conservatives in the party, and from the very start he was fighting with them in Michigan and then nationally. I mean, I think the bigger issue with what George Romney is that he wanted to be a statesman and not a politician, and I think that's where you run into trouble because politics.
How dare someone want to hold themselves to a higher standard?
Well, I mean, but politics is politics, and you can't be
I never met
god.
a successful statesman who wasn't a politician.
This is an important point. Actually, it's the point of our cover story on Lincoln this week as well, by the way.
Yeah.
Well, I love the piece. I love that BuzzFeed gave you the 11,000 words to do it. How long did it take you to research the thing?
I started probably about in May. I started researching it. I didn't come to the realization that he didn't walk out of the convention until about July. I think it was July 28th. And I sent an email to my friends.
One of the most interesting aspects of the article was the issue about the lessons that Mitt Romney learned from his father. Both the good and bad lessons. Maybe you could expand upon that for a moment.
I think there's been a lot of focus about 1967 and 1968 and the brainwashing comment.
You know, when I came back from Vietnam, I just had the greatest brainwashing that anybody can get.
But we have to recall that Mitt Romney wasn't even around in those days. He left Michigan in July of 1966.
He was on a military deferment for a war he supported and going around France.
Right, and he was a Mormon missionary, and he got back in December 1968, long after his father had dropped out of the race. And so there's this sort of belief, and the belief that has been perpetuated for a long time now is that he's influenced mostly by this honest, principled loser of 1968, when in fact he was around those early campaigns in 1962 and 1964, where his father was more of an opportunistic winner, and I think that really had a great impact. That's why he calls him the real deal. And do you think he's calling the real deal the guy who who sort of blew it all in 1967?
Well, it's a fascinating read. It's really important. Because George Romney represents not only a purer version, perhaps, of an extinct tradition in the Republican Party, but it gives you real insight into Mitt Romney. So thank you for doing it. Robert, we're going to pivot to the debate now, and we're all going to contribute. So I'm not saying goodbye to you. We're going to pivot. We're going to pivot the focus.
I'll stay in history.
You're not off the hook yet.
Robert, how freaked out are Democrats about the president's first debate, and what does the president need to do tonight in Long Island?
Of course, Democrats are just brimming with confidence tonight, John. Are you kidding? We've been in group therapy since the first debate. So there's no question the stakes could not be higher for the president. And if he does not perform well in this debate, the third debate's not going to matter. So that's not in the any talking points you're going to read, but that's the deal here. Now, quite frankly, this is a format that's a fascinating challenge for both President Obama and for Governor Romney. Because this is about not how aggressively you attack each other, but how well you connect with real people. The audience will be, that the town hall meeting will comprise of 80 people who are not committed voters, all of whom live in suburban Nassau County, Long Island, New York. And
This
they've
is
been
sort
chosen-
of your hood.
It's sort of my hood. And let's be real about this. As suburbia goes, so goes this election.
That's
it's the
true.
largest swing voting bloc in America. You know the world very well.
Absolutely.
And so you've got 80 very opinionated,
Although, frankly, Long Island is irrelevant, but suburban America generally is.
Well, I'll argue about that another day.
Wait,
the largest
New
suburban
York's going
region-
Democrat. That's
no,
my
but it's
point.
oh, absolutely. It's the largest suburban region in the country
Yeah.
that tends to vote very independently.
Absolutely. The largest town in America is Hempstead, 700,000 people.
You're from the hood. Okay, but here's the point. So you got 80 independent voters, and for President Obama, his challenge is going to be to connect with these voters and not really, and to point out the differences without being assertive, without being negative. He's got to be able to point out how he differs from Governor Romney with these voters, and he cannot go negative because it's not going to work with undecided voters. It does not play well.
That's a pretty specific line to walk, and you can see kind of getting in your head, it can tie you up in knots.
Absolutely.
Let me ask you this. Let's draw on history. I'm a big political history nerd, so I
Okay.
love having a historian here. Both the father, I mean, you look at video clips of the father, it's refreshing. He's combative, George Romney is. Mitt isn't, but they both seem to have a certain inability to connect to real people on a real level.
I might disagree with that. George Romney was, he was able, he was a millionaire going around ringing doorbells in 1962. In 1968, he was so eager to be with people or to win over New Hampshire voters that he hugged them and wouldn't let them go when he was going around shaking hands.
Okay, so why is the son then? Maybe I
Yeah.
misread your article. Why is the son lost the man of the people touched the father?
He just didn't have to. Because George Romney came from nothing, and he lost everything when they fled Michigan in 1960.
I think it's a very important historical observation, but
Right.
there's something else going on here that I think is really worth noting. In this kind of format, when you're talking to undecided voters, you can't project a different persona every time you make a public appearance. There'll be
What
60
the hell
to
is
70
Mitt
million
Romney
people.
gonna do?
Well, you see, by the way, for President Obama as well, he's got to maintain his likability, but also be aggressive.
You got to draw a strong contrast with a sense of humor.
And maintain likability. For Governor Romney, though, after running as a severe conservative, as he put it,
Right.
he then played a moderate card in the first debate, and that redefining of himself, he can't have a new persona every time. That's where you get burned. And I think that's where his real challenge is in this debate. And by the way, it's up to President Obama holding him to it.
To call him out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I have a piece up today called "The Paradox of Moderate Mitt," and it's a fascinating. I mean, on the one hand, he's rebounded because he recentered himself in that first campaign, but it goes against sort of the conservative playbook. And one interesting thing I've noticed, John, is that it does seem that in a couple of key decisions late in the game, he's actually listening to his son tag more. It seems to be playing more of a role in the campaign, and it's interesting to see whether that has liberated him in a strange way.
I think he feels most comfortable with family, and they are his best advisors. There's just a closeness there. I think if you remember when he announced his 2007 presidential candidacy, he released a video where he was sitting with all his kids and sitting around a couch in one of their houses and talking about
Right.
whether he should run or not. And
But you make a very interesting point, John. You talk about liberating. Liberating him from what to what? That's the problem. We don't know really
That's exactly right.
where he stands, what his real core beliefs are.
All right, John, we do a thing called final word. You pick a word out of the ether. It's a completely cosmetic device we've created to end the
Okay.
show. So pick one.
Walkout?
Really?
Yeah. Well, that's
got
that's
it.
the point of my piece.
Yes. Well, sort of. Not really the point. It's the hook, I guess.
Sure. Yeah.
Robert.
Showtime. That's the point of today.
It sure as hell is. Debate party. You got to join us tonight, 8 o'clock. We're going to have the Newsbeast debate party. We've had more viewers each time. It's been a hell of a lot of fun. So come join our party. We're going to be watching the debate, doing before and after. We got David from
Michelle Cottle.
Michelle Cottle.
And Michael Moynihan.
And Michael Moynihan.
Lots of walk-ons.
And we may have some other special guests who are going to be coming too. So come join us tonight, 8 o'clock, Newsbeast debate party. It's the Rumble in Nassau County. That doesn't rhyme.
At Hofstra
We're going to use it
University.
anyway. The Rumble at Hofstra.